Hello, everyone. My name is Gabrielle Wright, and I'm really excited today to present to you a little bit more about the things that I've learned about organizational culture. We'll just go along, and I am including my speaker notes just in case I need to, so that's why it's not being presented in the most beautiful of ways. Okay, so first, in order to talk about culture, we must understand why a culture and what a culture even is. I really love this image that shows us a little bit about British culture as an example. There's so many things that when you think of England or the country of Great Britain, you think of some of these things. And I would bet that if we did a little poll, we would find that most people think of rain, or most people think of a telephone booth, or their flag, or something like that. One of my favorite things and definitions that Brother Ombre talks about is he says, any group of people who share a common identity will create a culture. And that's why I think it's important to look at through the rest of this PowerPoint is to recognize and take away that there are so many different cultures, and really what it takes is that we share a common identity among people. There are cultures and religions. This one hits home to me because I was a missionary, and I have had many friends who all have different cultures. And so I chose a picture of two elder missionaries of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I don't know where they're serving. They are wearing a cultural, right here I'd point out they're not wearing pants. They're wearing some sort of, I don't know exactly, kilt or something like that, that probably isn't acceptable in their culture of where they're serving. And that's been one thing that, for me, at least in my life, has been important to recognize, is that we have so many cultures within cultures. We have a culture of the church, we have a culture of missionaries, we have a culture of wards, we have a culture of a school and classes, and really that all comes from that common identity that Brother Ombre talked about. Brother Ombre also says, researchers tell us that culture is one of the single greatest determining factors in how we see the world and how we behave on a regular basis. That is huge. I want to point out some things in that quote that he uses there. He says, first off, it's one of the single greatest determining factors. This is going to tell us, one, how we see the world and how we behave regularly. That's fascinating because that shows that culture is part of an individual. It's not just a group thing, but that every single individual contributes to a big culture and a group. And that then helps us see the world in certain ways. Culture to outcomes relationships. This is a really great visual that I think shows how culture affects different outcomes in different scenarios. So if we start out with culture, right, we see this, and culture leads to management systems, processes and programs, and then risks, and then outcomes. As a longtime advocate of management systems, I used to believe, this is from one of the greatest cultural organizationists in this field. And he said, as a longtime advocate of management systems, I used to believe that a robust management system was all that an organization needed to predict and defend itself from threats. As I began to understand more about organizational health, I realized that unbalanced organizational decisions can create such an enormous threat that they can overwhelm even the most effective management systems. Therefore, for an organization to improve its overall health, it must reduce threats and solidify its defenses. That, I just think, is so important to recognize, because he tells us that if our organization is going to improve, threats must be reduced. And with that, I think comes all sorts of different things, making different decisions, how we're creating those management systems. But if you notice, it all starts at culture. Moving on, we have cultural combines all things. I think this is such an awesome little cultural wheel. It shows us that it does start with individuals here with knowledge and stories, and that leads to us communicating and having different language, which goes into different homes and backgrounds and how we handle things with traditions and rituals that lead to the techniques that we have and tools and objects, how we're educated in the arts and food and drink, and essentially what we value, which shows and goes back to Brother Ambre's comment about how important it is and how culture reflects what we believe in, essentially, which therefore comes back to a huge circle of creating a greater community. In a culture, there are so many different pieces, and it really is like a puzzle. And each one of these different steps, they really do matter. I want to talk about in a business or in an organization, a mission statement really matters. However, it's the mission and action that is what matters. That's why I chose to show a skateboarder. He's awesome, and I'm sure if he would have had a great little, I don't know, he could sit there and tell us about skateboarding, but when it really comes into life and affects me and allows me to have the oohs and the ahs is when he starts moving and starts doing those tricks and putting what he knows into action. Fairhorse, Jordan, and Newrith, three other very important authors in the organizational field, said formal mission statements seek to capture a combination of organizational vision, values, and purpose. Communicated to both internal and external stakeholders, they tend to be aspirational in nature by setting a standard or ideal which members of the organization seek to emulate. As faculty members in an academic department, we experience the transformative impact of a departmental mission statement adopted in 2012. As authors of this article, we wanted to explore the varied reasons for this impact to aid us in moving forward to share transferable practices with others. This was a social experiment conducted by some organizational people that were able to take this study and see how it really affects a mission statement within different departments of schooling as well. I would bet that many BYU Idaho students don't necessarily know the mission statement, but do they live it? And is that truly part of our culture? The power of a leader in culture. Leadership and cultural transformation will factor into whether manufacturing firms thrive in the future. Sorry about that, I went ahead. There are two general components to developing mastery as a transformative leader: personal transformation and cultural transformation. If you notice, it starts with personal, and that also leads to cultural. Basically, the former has to do with developing self-awareness, and the latter, culture, is about influencing others. Leadership is an innate talent that all people have, but they must cultivate and develop it before they can become effective at it. Again, we all have this skill. It's a talent, but we must learn how to use it. The leadership tips and techniques people learn by reading books, attending classes are important, but they are insufficient for creating a transformation. What leaders also need is the mindset shift that individuals experience when they see things about themselves they didn't see before. These are the hidden saboteurs of success and fulfillment, and I've seen countless people's lives and their results completely transformed because of them perceiving and deciding to act on their newfound sense of self-awareness. This, I think, is a quote that I will always have written upon my heart. It's from a book called Innovative Higher Education. And it's really valuable because you can see that the leaders must recognize their influence as individuals on the culture of the organization that they're leading. environment in a culture. There are good environments and there are bad environments, and that matters. That's something that I really want to take away from this PowerPoint, is that essentially a culture matters, and how the environment is conducted matters, and that includes the leader as well, and all of these things go together. Manufacturing leaders of the future must master the art of creating an environment where people are not only introduced to these saboteurs, but can also explore how they are affected by them personally, and then take a different mindset and behavior. He goes on to say, this type of conversation, conducted in both formal and informal settings, formed the cornerstone of the turnaround we experienced in a manufacturing plant that he was responsible for many years ago. They went from being the worst company to the best in simply 18 months. And this was because of the cultural transformation. This is from Gonod, and he talks about avoiding becoming a thing of the past. And I think that's really important for us to recognize, that within a culture, we have the choice to move forward or backwards. And I believe it really is a choice, and I think many other researchers would agree. Let's give an example about the power of bad culture. It seems kind of crazy to conduct a little study about highlighting a culture that is so bad. But this one was really eye-opening to me. And we're going to highlight the Union Pacific. You can see this is some of their trains. So a little bit about them. Union Pacific has been building America for more than 155 years by serving customers, communities, and shareholders with a passion for performance, high ethical standards, and teamwork. While they didn't wish to contradict such a grand mission statement, you have to ask yourself, where is it getting its facts from? There is very little evidence, according to reviews on Glassdoor, that I went through myself to see that there is not much teamwork in this culture, nor is there high ethical standards at play. And while the company's 1,000+ employees may be performing well, they do not feel rewarded for it. That's something that is huge to recognize, is that the individuals and the different people of a culture really matters how they feel and how they're treated. Only some facts for us here. We'll see that poor wages were big complaints, as well as limited opportunities for progression. Only 12% of Union Pacific employees approve their CEO, and only 22% would recommend this company to a friend. On the other side, we're going to go to another company and highlight the power of a good culture. Look at this photo. It really shows that these people look pumped to be at work. In-N-Out, on their website, it says, we appreciate how much our tradition of customer service has contributed to our success since 1948. Knowing and remembering the importance of our number one priority, our loyal and dedicated customers, is essential to our stability, steady growth, which is why many associates have been with us for 10 to 15 years or more. Our ethical values, combined with respect, professionalism, and friendliness, continue to nurture a genuine family-oriented atmosphere. They go on to describe that courtesy and kindness are what allow them to have success within their associates and department members. They take pride in knowing that they support their stores and in turn their customers by working together to ensure that they provide the freshest, highest quality of foods and exceptional service. And I personally have been to In-N-Out, and I would say that both those things are part of their culture. I have had friends that have worked for In-N-Out, and they truly do find it a great and important company. We're cutting close on time, so I just wanted to end with what and how important it is to recognize that culture takes hard work. It's difficult to change. It's often negotiated. People have different contributions in every way. And I'm grateful that I got to learn about this and experience this. And so here are my works cited pages, and you will find those also in the PowerPoint as well. So thanks for listening. Bye.